What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Realms of Metal. Eddie here, back with you from my metal room, my happy place here in the woods in PA. We're chilling today. It's early afternoon on a Sunday. We're listening to music. We're hanging out. And I thought it'd be a cool idea to go through some bands that kind of don't get enough credit, in my opinion. So legendary bands, at least legendary bands in my book, that don't get the credit they deserve. The first band that popped into my mind was Benediction from Birmingham, England. Um, I've been a Benediction fan since 1991. The Grand Leveler came out, and I was in love with that album. I went out and bought the first one, Subconscious Terror, that came out in 1990. And, they formed in 1989. They have 8 full lengths, all on Nuclear Blast Records. So let's talk about Benediction today. So let's go to the first record. It was 1990s Subconscious Terror on Nuclear Blast. The lineup on this record was Mark Barney Greenway, that Mark Barney Greenway from Napalm Death. He was on this record. Peter Rue and Darren Brooks on guitars. Peter Rue and Darren Brooks are the only 2 members to be on every Benediction release. You had Paul Adams on bass and Ian Treacy on drums. Like I said, Barney Greenway's only Benediction appearance or Benediction record. He went on to, join Napalm Death, and then we got Harmony Corruption, which is pretty fucking awesome too. So this is my vinyl copy. Now, this came out in 1990. And this one sounds like a little primitive compared to some of the other records that were coming out, like just sonically. Like you had, Spiritual Healing came out in 1990. You had the first Deicide record, Cause of Death, Piece of Time from Atheist. You had Left Hand Path. And like out of all those records, this one is a little primitive sounding, in my opinion. Like I feel like it could have been produced a little bit better. But I mean, it's still a great record. It's got great songs on it. My favorite tracks on here are probably the title track and Total Eclipse. But it's a record that you got to have in your collection. This version is a back on black. It was like yellow and orange splatter. It was a gatefold. It's pretty fucking awesome, right? So 1990s. Subconscious Terror. Let's go to 1991, their second full length, which was the Grand Leveler, my first Benediction record as a kid. Everything's on Nuclear Blast, originally the release. So enter Dave Ingram on vocals. I love Dave Ingram. He's a death metal hero of mine, along with Peter and Darren. Great death metal vocalist, man. Just, great sounding, vocalist. So you had Dave Ingram, Peter Rue, Darren Brooks, Paul Adams on bass, Ian Treacy on drums. So the only lineup change was on vocals for Dave from the first one to this one. And you got some guest vocals from Carl Willits of Bolt Thrower on this one. And this is a great one, man. Like Vision in the Shroud, Grave Worm, Jumping at Shadows was, I think, the song about Son of Sam. Opulence of the Absolute, the Grand Leveler. Fuck. Great record. Benedictions, the Grand Leveler. This was another Back on Black re-release or repress. Red and yellow splatter it was. Pretty hot. Superb record, man. Let's go to the third one, which is Transcend the Rubicon. This came out in 1993. So you had Dave Ingram back on vocals, Peter Rue back on guitar, Darren Brooks on guitar on this one, Ian Treacy on drums, and enter Frank Healy on bass. Who had like a stint in Napalm Death. He was with a band called Cerebral Fix. He's currently in Memoriam with Carl Willits, of Bolt Thrower. So that's another band you should check out. Memoriam, really good stuff. Cover art on this one by the legendary Dan Seagrave, and probably my favorite Benediction record, top to bottom, between songwriting, production. I just love everything about this one. Uh, Unfound Mortality, Night Fear, Painted Skulls, Violation Domain, Bleak House. This is one you should definitely have in your collection, man. This was a gray red splatter vinyl. Take a look at it. Pretty cool. Let's go to their fourth release. The Dreams You Dread came out in 1995. Again, all these are on Nuclear Blast. Had Dave Ingram back on vocals, Peter Rue, Darren Brooks back on guitars, Frank Healy back on bass, and enter Neil Hutton on drums, who was with a band called Warlord, the UK's version of Warlord, and this band called Frog, who I have no idea who they are, but I read that. So, music video for Down on Whores, Leave Them All for Dead. Great track, man. Down on Whores, Certified, Soulstream, Saintless Theory, killer track. The Dreams You Dread, the title track. Man, great record. Another one you should have in your collection. This was a black and gold splatter. It's not a gatefold. Pretty cool, right? Benedictions, The Dream You Dread. Dreams You Dread, 1995. Let's go to their fifth release called Grind Bastard. Came out in 1998. This has two of the best songs they ever wrote, in my opinion. Deadfall and Agonize are the first two tracks. They're fucking so killer. They hit so hard. Two of the best tracks they ever wrote. Those two tracks are worth the price of this record alone. So we got Dave Ingram back on vocals, Peter Rue, Darren Brooks again on guitar, the mainstays. Frank Healy back on bass, and Neil Hutton back on drums, same as the last record. Guest backing vocals on this one from Barry Thompson of Bolt Thrower. Great stuff. You had a couple of covers on here. You had Electric Eye, the Priest cover, Destroyer, Twisted Sister cover, We Are the League, which is an Anti-Nowhere League cover. Depending on what versions you got, I mean, they're all on this one. But great record, man. Like I said, those first two tracks alone are worth the price of this album. West of Hell is another really good one. Grind Bastard, the title track, is another really good one. So this was a purple and black splatter. This is a double vinyl, purple and black. Really sharp, man. It's fucking killer. Grind Bastard, pick it up. Let's go to their sixth release. This was Organized Chaos. This came out in 2001, again on Nuclear Blast. You had Peter Rue and Darren Brooks back on guitars, Frank Healy back on bass, Neil Hutton back on drums. Entered Dave Hunt on vocals. Dave Ingram was out of the band. He left the band. I don't know exactly what happened or how it transpired. But Dave Hunt's on vocals on this one. And he was in a band called Dethroned and also in that band called Frog, which I don't know much about. But he's currently in Anal and the Croth, if you're familiar with those guys. It's kind of like a black metal, grindcore, industrial band, you know, also from Birmingham, England. If you don't know Anal and the Croth, check them out. Pretty good stuff. But this one is actually produced by Andy Sneap, too. And I'm super familiar with Andy Sneap because he does a lot of stuff with Exodus. So you had a couple of the great ones on here. Nothing on the Inside, Easy Way to Die, Don't Look in the Mirror. It's a solid record. Not my favorite Benediction record, but it's solid. And this was a double vinyl, light blue with white splatter. Take a look at that. Almost translucent too. You can almost see through it. Pretty cool. Let's go to their 7th release, which is Killing Music. Came out in 2008. So we had like a 7-year lapse between that record and this one. Also on Nuclear Blast, Dave Hunt back on vocals, Peter Rue, Darren Brooks back on guitars, Frank Healy back on bass, Neil Hutton back on drums. You got some guest musicians on this one. You got Carl Wills, a bolt thrower. You got Kelly Schaefer from Atheist, Billy Gould from Faith No More on this one as well. Colin from GBH. You got a bunch of them on here. So we got some cool guest musicians on this one. Decent record. Like Organized Chaos, probably not my favorite between that one and this one. They're decent. Probably the best tracks on here are The Gray Man, which was really good, and They Must Die Screaming, 2 of my favorites. But it's a solid as fuck record. You got a Broken Bones cover on here called Seeing Through My Eyes, and you got an Amoebics cover on here called Largactyl. So, Killing Music. And their 8th release and the latest one came out 3 years ago now, 2020. It's called Scriptures. Now we had a 12-year lapse between the last record, Killing Music, and this one, so it's a big lapse. Well worth the wait, man, because this record fucking kills. What a comeback this was. You had Dave Ingram back on vocals for this one, Peter Rue and Darren Brooks, the mainstays, and then you had a guy, Dan Bate on bass, who was with a band called Absolva and Monuments. And then you had Giovanni Durst on drums, also from Monument, and a band called White Wizard, who I'm not super familiar with, but that was the lineup on here. You had a guest vocal appearance from Cam Lee, the mighty Cam Lee, legendary Cam Lee. And this one is just filled with great tracks, man. Iterations of I, Scriptures and Scarlet, The Crooked Man. Stormcrow is really good. Progenitors of the New Paradigm is the one with Cam Lee, really good. Like top to bottom, like this record kills, man. Great comeback, sounds great. And this was the double vinyl picture disc version that I picked up of this one. That on that side, that on that side. Pretty cool. And then you had the cover on that side. Sounds great. Nice thick vinyls. Got to be 180 gram vinyls. Double picture disc. Benediction Scriptures. There's all 8 full lengths from Benediction. Like I said, go out and pick these up. Great band, super underrated band you should know about and have in your collection. The current lineup of Benediction is Dave Ingram, Peter Rue, Darren Brooks, Giovanni Durst, and on bass they have a guy, Nick Sampson, who I don't know much about. But I'm hoping they're, writing new music, and I'm hoping they're planning on releasing something new. I'll definitely pick it up. So Benediction, super underrated band. I just felt like it's a band I needed to talk about. Maybe I can get some of you guys to check them out and buy a couple of their records. And, that's what we do here on the Realms of Metal. So, again, thanks for everybody commenting on the videos, watching the videos. We really appreciate that here. And we love engaging with you guys. Throw some comments down. If you know about Benediction, tell me what your favorite record or your favorite track. If you're not familiar with them and you're picking up a record, tell me what you like that you've heard, something that you plan on picking up. We love engaging with you guys. Keep the comments coming. And this is going to be a quick one. I'm going to do a bunch of these videos on these bands that I think are underrated and don't get the credit they deserve. And Benediction was the first one that popped in my head. So thanks for hanging with me on a Sunday on the Realms of Metal. Ant and I, guys, will see you again real soon. Have a good one.